One map, 60 tameable creatures, and 24 hours. Could I hunt and tame every scorched earth creature in a single day? Well, I won't know if I don't try it, but before that, let's set some ground rules. Rule number 1, baby creatures do not count, because those are too easy to tame. Rule number 2, I'll be using the Dino Depot mod to collect each creature after it's tamed. I cannot use this mod to transport creatures, and after they are cryopoded, I can't send them out again. And by the end of the challenge, I must have every cryopodable creature inside this box. And rule number 3, I won't be counting the Titanosaur for the challenge. I'll still try and tame it though, but this creature was made for multiplayer and taming it alone is borderline impossible. You'll see. And now that we're done with the rules, these are the mods I used during the gameplay, and their link along with the settings that I used are in the description of the video. If at any moment you find yourself enjoying this one, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and without further ado, let the hunt begin. So, I woke up in the desert, and the first thing I did was to run. Oh, hi there. Yeah, spawning right next to a rock elemental isn't the best start ever, but after making sure it stopped following me, the first thing I did was to spawn in a cryopod. Yes, I have a timer, but if you don't trust that one, this also has a timer. So there's 2 timers, you just have to pick one. And with that out of the way, I started the early game Ark experience, which is farming a bit more, primitive tools, farming again, farming a bit more, making more primitive tools and some armor. And with that done, it was time to focus on what my next step was going to be. And this map is basically a desert. So the logical decision was to go towards water, and I started running straight to the closest river. There's a few other things I need to worry about on this map, and those few other things are called raptors, and they are everywhere. Yeah, I really needed that water vein. Luckily, it wasn't that much of a problem because, strangely enough, in this desert, it isn't that hard to find things to drink. There are loads of water veins scattered around, and even if you can't find one, you can always take a sip from a blue jug bug. Even so, I had to take the long way around to avoid the raptors, which wasn't the best idea because, as I said, they are everywhere. So I started hunting some creatures to try and level up and make some bolas. But not long after, the inevitable happened and they found me. No, he saw me. Nah, no. Yeah, I'm dead. Yep, I died. But the beginning on this map is always a bit bumpy. So I started all over again. Farming, primitive tools and armor, jug bug, and I was back to running. And up until now, I spoke of the abundance of raptors as a bad thing, which it actually is, but sometimes you gotta see the bright side of things. Raptors fight everything, and eventually, they die. Which means there are a lot of dead raptors around, and I can just farm them and get a bunch of free resources. See? They're not that bad. Unless they're alive. In that case, I hate them. But by being extra careful, I was able to not only get my stuff back, but also reach these ruins. And if there's a certainty in Ark is that if you find ruins, you find explorer nodes. With its buff, I was able to reach level 10 and unlock the ultimate raptor counter. Bolas, arrows, and a bow. And after a brief resource gathering session, it was time for revenge. Well, there you are. Come here. Yeah, remember me? Yeah, you killed me. Just like a minute ago, so, revenge. And another one. Yes, kill them. To be honest, I don't even know if this was the one that killed me, but still. I farmed a bit more to stock up on arrows, drank from a water vein, and suddenly, the turns had tabled, and instead of being the prey, I was hunting for raptors. Since I had the XP buff, might as well put it to good use. But I got a bit full of myself and decided to face a small group of 3 raptors. I managed to trap and kill the first 2 easily, but on the third one, my aim just wasn't there. No, I whiffed that. No. As I said, the start on this map is always a bit bumpy, so let's start again. Farming, primitive tools, farming, and running. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention. Aside from water veins and jug bugs, another easy way to get water is from cactus sap, which in my opinion is one of the best foods in the entire game. Easy to get, and not only does it refill your thirst meter, but also serves as food. It's basically an all-in-one meal, so no need for canteens or cooking meat when you can just have these. Eventually I got my loot and discovered that the raptor I was about to get revenge from had been killed by a couple of Morellatops, so I just picked up my stuff and I had finally reached my destination. The river, and more specifically, this island on the river, which is where I was going to build my base. Usually it isn't that hot down here, and there is plenty of water around if I ever find myself thirsty. So I started cleaning up the area to start building, and that is when I discovered that my raptor hunting session was actually quite helpful. 9 levels. Ooh, since when? Wow. Just as I finished building my base, it started raining, so thirst wasn't going to be a problem for now, and I was about to start cooking some meat when I realized that wasn't a smart idea. I could just split the entire stack of meat in my inventory, and as I said before, use cactus sap as food instead. And that way I can have a bunch of meat spoil at the same time, and right at the start, get a giant stack of spoiled meat. So I farmed a few rocks nearby to make a mortar, started producing narcotics, and with just one more level, I was able to unlock the trank arrows, which meant it was time to start taming stuff. And obviously, the first creature I was going to tame was, hands down, the best creature on Scorched. And after a bit of searching, I found one. A jerboa, who I just punched until it knocked out, petted some berries, waited for a bit, and my first companion was tamed. Hello, you're my friend now. You're my little buddy. Your name is Dingo the First. Don't mind the name, I didn't intend to have more than just this one. Or at least that was the plan, because after not wanting to waste arrows on a Lystro and just punching him to death, and knocking out a Parasaur to help me farm berries, I decided to try and tame this Morellatops who I thought was alone. Please be stuck. I think he's stuck. Yes! No, wait. There's another one. Is he attacking me? He's attacking me. No. I thought he was alone. Yeah, I got stuck in the river and they just killed me. And after I got my stuff back, they also killed Dingo. Yeah, he didn't even last 4 minutes. So I just tamed another one, who I named Dingo the Second. At least this one knew how to sit on my shoulder, so there's that. On the bright side, my Parasaur finished taming. And after making him a saddle, getting narco berries was much easier. And I could make a lot more narcotics. And it was right on time because a couple of raptors decided to pay me a visit. So after farming a few resources and making some trank arrows, I set out to tame them, which with some bolas wasn't that hard. And after making him a saddle, I could now ride a fast mount that I could use to farm other creatures. Although they were a bit clunky and got stuck everywhere. But while I was out with them, I realized that there was a much better creature that I could tame early game, Apricoptodon. The zone was full of them, and since I could already unlock their saddle, I decided that that was going to be my next goal. Most of the resources I needed for the saddle were easy enough to get, so after preparing some stuff at base and repairing my equipment, I took off with my 2 new raptors, picked up an explorer note along the way, and started farming. Getting metal was going to be a bit more work, but hide, fiber, and pelt were pretty simple to gather. And it's this way of thinking about things that leads to situations like this, where the game just goes, mate, you're playing on Scorched. There are no simple things. So, after I decided to try and kill a thorny dragon, just to have it kill one of my raptors, and halfway through my panic running, getting caught by a microraptor which led to my other raptor also dying, I had to run back home, alone, and losing health to thirst. Yeah, that didn't go that well. But the thing is, I actually knew what the problem was. I just didn't have a big enough army. So, I prepared myself, made a few bolas, and I was once again searching for raptors. Ended up finding 2, knocked them out, and after farming enough resources to make a raptor saddle, they were tamed. But just 2 creatures wasn't going to be enough. So I got back to base, picked up a bunch of narcotics I'd been making, and I set off to tame everything that I could. But, unbeknownst to me, I was about to go on a pretty long adventure. And it all started when I lost one of my raptors right away. Okay, one is dead. Not that bad really, because thanks to that raptor, I was able to knock out 2 more. And while they were taming, I pressed on. Knocked out another raptor, tried to knock out a saber just for it to die, tried to knock out another one, and it also died. But the 3rd time's a charm and I was finally able to knock one out, found a bit of metal along the way, trapped a Daedon with a bola and I was able to knock it out, and finished things off by knocking out a 2nd saber. Now I just needed to wait for them to tame. But I was still in need of metal to make the Orcoptodon saddle, and I was actually close to a spot that I knew had tons of it. Thing is, it wasn't really that safe, but even so, I decided to give it a try, which I probably shouldn't have. I know there's metal around here somewhere, I'm just not sure where. And I'm being chased now. Okay, guess I'm going to tame a wolf now. It shouldn't be that hard. He's level 100. Please don't get off your bola. Please. Oh, there's more wolves. No. Just knock out. Just knock out. Yeah, I gotta run. I can't face that. It's a level 100. No. Why didn't you knock out? No, Microraptor. No. Ah! I'm dead. My raptor is dead. I'm dead. Oh no. And just like that, I was back at base. Thing is, all of the creatures I knocked out were tamed. And if I gathered them all, I might be able to save my raptor. And more importantly, my dingo. So I made a bow and a few pieces of armor and left my base with my parasaur. I started collecting every creature I had tamed, and by the end of it, I actually had a pretty decent army. And it was time for the rescue mission, Bring Back Dingo, which didn't last that long because Dingo died just as I got close to the render distance. So the mission became Avenge Dingo, which also didn't last that long because after I found the culprits and started taking care of them, this happened. I found you. There he is. Just take care of him. Let's go. Heal everything. And they're dying. Why? And there's a Microraptor. Of course there's a Microraptor. There's always a Microraptor. Okay. Microraptor, go away. It didn't go away. Theodon, help me. Yeah, just kill him. No, stop healing. Just attack. Yeah. Okay, he's running. Okay. Need my stuff now. I need my stuff. Is this? Yeah, that's my stuff. Okay. Now, just stop attacking. Is it just me and my Theodon? Did everything die? Really? My army fell in a matter of seconds, and when I realized it, it was just me, my Theodon, and my Parasaur left. And with no easy way to go back home because of the Rexes and Microraptors, the mission became just don't die. And I ended up running up a rock to try and hide from everything. I was in no shape to make the trip back to base, so I decided to stick around for a while, which wasn't so bad because I was actually right on top of the metal I was after. It wasn't the safest place, but since I was going to stick around for a bit, might as well smelt some metal. So I climbed down from my rock, had to fight a few bugs, and got as much metal as my flimsy stone pickaxe could manage. Only problem was, I didn't have enough hide for a forge, so I needed to find something to hunt, which wasn't that hard because everything in this place tries to kill me. So it didn't take long for a snake to slither nearby. I disposed of it with ease, and after gathering a few more things, I was able to make a forge and finally start smelting. And after a bit of waiting, I had enough metal to make a smithy and my first metal tool. Hour 3 started with me climbing once again down from my rock. With my new metal pickaxe, I gathered tons of metal and climbed up once again to put it all inside the forge. And since I had to wait for it to smelt, I started preparing to tame a creature. I split all the meat in my inventory for it to spoil and farmed a bit of cactus sap for food. And only after all of this did I notice that my Theodon was dead. Wait. My Theodon's dead? Since when? What? What happened to him? What? The best part of all of this is that actually, yes, I did notice he died. I just didn't know what it was. What was that? What? Yeah, apparently now it was just me and my Parasaur, but not for long because it was time for me to tame another creature that could help me get back home. And while I needed something fast, in reality I just needed something faster than a Parasaur, if you get what I'm saying. So, after making some narcotics and trank arrows, I set off to see what I could find, made some bolas along the way, and it didn't take long for me to find a target. Terror birds. That ought to be faster than a Parasaur, I guess. But there's two of them, I just need the one. I waited for him to get closer, and when it did, it was go time. I managed to trap it with a bola and started shooting at it. Problem was, I wasn't able to knock it out until it broke free. And to make matters worse, terror birds have this amazing thing they do sometimes where they just stop torpor running and go, wait, I could just kill that guy. And that's what he did. You were torpor running. Why? This doesn't even make sense. Why? He was torpor running. The worst part of dying there was I didn't even have a sleeping bag around, so my only option was to try and spawn as close as possible to my Parasaur. And I say try because I did try, but the game had different plans. After a quick Scorpion-assisted unalivement, I gave it another try. And once again, I wasn't even close. But this time, I decided to just try and leg it all the way to my stuff. You never know, it might just work. And to my surprise, even though I've been dying left and right in this desert, I actually managed to run past all the dangers including rock elementals and Rexes and endure the night's cold and reach my Parasaur. Yeah. Things just work sometimes. Got my stuff back, started making more narcotics, and I farmed a few resources to make something I should have made earlier, a crossbow. And with my new weapon in hand, it was time to give the terror bird another try. Thing is, this place wasn't as safe as it was before I died, but a bit of luck came my way, and a much better creature than a terror bird decided to aggro onto me and start climbing my rock. And that's when I realized that, nope, it wasn't luck, it was just a game making things harder for me. Please don't. No, I knew it. I knew that. No, no. No. Okay. Okay, why? I had the wolf. Why? And I was going to kill the wolf. Oh, God. And I'm stuck down here now. And he killed my wolf. Why? A dire wolf was probably the best creature I could tame at that moment, but all I could do was watch the Rex kill it. And since I was off my rock, I wasn't safe anymore. Every turn in this rocky desert could lead me to another creature that could kill me. Or maybe, with a bit of luck, another dire wolf. I gotta do it. Gotta do it. Let's go. I have to do it. My only chance now. Come on. Yeah, bola. Bam. Okay. Please get knocked out. Eventually, I managed to knock him out, and then I didn't even dare to move a muscle. Maybe the Rexes wouldn't aggro onto me if I just stood very still, which was actually working. I just didn't remember that there was another thing the Rexes could aggro onto. Why? Why is he coming this way? The Gerbo is bringing him this way. I gotta do it. Yeah, Parasaur, you're bait now. Go. Go. Yeah. Rex, go after the Parasaur, please. Just aggro on. Oh, he's aggro onto me. Oh, no. Okay, if he doesn't kill the wolf, it's actually not that bad. I can outrun him, I think. But I don't have that much energy, which is bad. Oh no, and I'm going straight to the desert. This is so bad. No. Wait, no, he's going for the wolf. No. Parasaur. Go. Don't kill my wolf. Please don't. Don't kill my wolf. And he's going to kill my wolf. No. Parasaur. Yeah, just run. Run, Parasaur. Run. No, he's dead. No. Please just don't turn around. Do not. He's going to kill the wolf now. No, I'm alone. And my wolf is dead. No. Now it was just me, and by the looks of it, I wouldn't last that long. But with a bit of panic crafting, I managed to make 2 campfires and stay alive. I'm alive. Oh, I'm alive. How am I alive? I don't know. I'm alive. While I was happy I didn't die, the situation wasn't, let's say, favorable. I was stuck in a corner, couldn't leave because of the cold, and at any moment, a Rex could just aggro and kill me. As time passed by, the light of the morning was getting stronger, and I could see much more clearly. Enough for me to spot another dire wolf at a distance. But that's all I could do, really. See it. Because even when I tried to make him aggro onto me, the cold just tore through my health. And I had to get back to my campfires. I knew that if I just ran back to my rock, I would die halfway there. And I didn't even know if the Rex was still there. So I just passed the time watching Rexes in the desert, trying to make the wolf aggro onto me, seeing if the temperature would go up, and farming metal. And eventually, I had enough health that I decided to go for it. And since it was warmer, I didn't take that much damage. And I was able to get back to the safety of my rock. Thing is, after all of this, I was still marooned in the rock with no way to get back home with my inventory. So it was back to looking for a creature to tame. Luckily, dire wolves were spawning everywhere, so I found another one, made him aggro onto me with a few well-aimed arrows, and once he was on the rock, I trapped him and knocked him out. I had to go down once again to find meat, but once that was done, I ran to the highest point of the rock and I just waited because I was going to finally tame another creature. No. 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 Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. No. No. Why? How did you see this? Where? What? Yeah. Yes. Go. Yes. Just go. Oh. Thank you. No. 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 Don't turn around. No. No. He's going to kill the wolf now. I hate this. Why? How? I hate this. He saw the wolf from down there. How? I don't even know. Oh, he's coming this way. No. Oh, he's going away. Oh. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. And now he's just standing there looking at me with that dumb little face of his. No. Don't come this way. Just go away. Go away. I hate this Rex. This one, this Rex in particular, I hate him. I can't even move. I can't go down there. The only thing I can do is stay up here and hope he goes away. That's the only thing I can do. I even had the idea of making a parachute so that I could jump off the rock, but I didn't even have enough resources for that. So all I could do was wait and pray that he didn't come for me. And eventually, he unstuck himself and just went on with his life of just fighting everything, I guess. Gee. After this happened, I had to change my plan a bit, so after finding another direwolf, I once again lured him up the rock, but this time, I made him climb all the way up before I knocked him out. That way, hopefully, the Rex wouldn't see him. So I just laid down next to the wolf, and I waited. Hour 4 started with my new direwolf finally taming. It didn't have high level or stats, but it was going to be enough. So, after dropping everything I wouldn't need and picking up my makeshift base, it was time to finally make my way to my actual base. Even though it was almost fully encumbered, my wolf was fast enough for me to get away from all sorts of danger. Well, almost all of them. No, Microraptor just know where I'm at. They just come for me, that's all. Just kill him. Kill him. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But despite the Microraptor and some surprise raptor attacks, my wolf held on and I managed to get to base safely. I upgraded it with the stuff I made while I was out, and it was back to making a Procoptodon saddle. Yes, believe it or not, it was still the objective. Metal wasn't a problem anymore, but to get the rest of the resources I had to, once again, make an army of creatures. But unlike last time I tried this time I had a wolf. And these guys are awesome because while they lack a bit of defense because they don't have a saddle, they make for it in damage and mobility. And after knocking out 3 new raptors and a parasaur, it was time for a new jerboa. I tamed it and named it Dingo the Third. 3 dingoes in less than 4 hours. At this rate, I'll be taming a bunch of them. After my new creatures had tamed, I used the parasaur to farm narco berries to make more narcotics, crafted a crossbow and a few bolas, and after making a sleeping bag so I didn't have to spawn randomly when I inevitably die, I went out to see what else I could tame. And having these new raptors was good because they could protect me, but I decided to go alone with my wolf since it was easier to maneuver around. And I'm glad I did because after aggroing a bunch of creatures at the same time, I was only able to escape thanks to the wolf's jump. And not only did I manage to escape, but since they couldn't reach me, I ended up knocking out 2 new wolves and 2 sabers. Then I needed to wait for them to tame, but to not waste time, I pressed on and started farming the resources I needed, until I almost lost my wolf to a terrorbird. Not everything was bad though. I got a treasure map, which meant that if I made a shovel, I had a chance of getting some pretty nice loot. So I went back to get my now tamed creatures, and the army upgrade was noticeable. The 2 new wolves I got were higher level, and now I had mate boost and pack bonus on them. And including the sabers and the raptors, yeah, I was in a much better spot now. I got back to base, made a shovel, and now was out again to farm creatures, but this time I was also heading for the treasure. My army was holding up pretty well. I mean, the wolves were, the raptors were dying left and right, but the only problem I really had was the heat. During the night, it was super cold, but during the day, in some places, the heat was just too much. I needed to make a desert armor as soon as possible. And thankfully, I came by a friendly Microraptor and his Terrorbird friends who decided to just insta-TP me back to base. It's always good to find some nice creatures around. And now I could make that armor. But before I could make one, there is one resource that I didn't have. So I made some equipment and started looking for a certain creature called Limentria. These guys drop a lot of silk, and with that, I was able to make the armor. It wasn't much, but it was going to help. Then I rejoined my group and found out that apparently my dingo didn't die.
Dingo, you like my new fit? This way I won't burn alive.
Subtle foreshadowing. And just like that, I was back to hunting creatures, because my objective was still the same. And while I was at it, I was also getting closer and closer to the treasure. And even a sandstorm couldn't stop us, and eventually, we reached it. Can I open it? Yes, I can open it. Please give me something useful, like crossbow. No. Why? A cementing paste is not that bad, but it's not even worth it to bring it. It's like it weighs too much. That I came all this way and it wasn't even worth it. Well, I wouldn't call that a treasure, but at least I had farmed a lot of resources, though my army was reduced to just my wolves. I hunted a few more creatures on my way back to base, and once I got there, it was finally time to make the Procoptodon saddle. It just took 3 hours to make it. Probably worth it. Thing is, I only had a saddle now. I still had to tame a Procoptodon. So I went out with one of my wolves and started searching. And my plan was to try and tame a low-level one just so it was easier. But even a low-level Procoptodon is a bit complicated to tame because they just run away from you super fast. But that's when I had an idea. You have a baby, which means you'll attack me. Yes, this works. It doesn't run from me. It tries to attack me. Oh, it's knocked out. Yeah, my plan was... Did I hit the morale? No, I hit the morale tops. No! Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. My plan worked, and I was able to knock the kangaroo down. But only after trying to feed it some berries did I remember that these guys only eat mushrooms. Not much of a problem though, because these blue flower bushes drop them. Just not that frequently. So I made a whip and a sandstorm, and a few lashes later, I had enough mushrooms to tame it. And I finally had the Procoptodon I was after. And you're probably wondering, why go through all of this just to tame a bunny kangaroo? Well, not only do they have nice stats, they also farm a bunch of berries, and they're mobile enough for me to make jumps like these. And there's one. And that way. Yep, there's two. Oh, there's Crystal right here. Nice. I have Crystal now. Nice. That's why I tamed the Procoptodon. And another one, there's a lot of Crystal and Obsidian up there. So, might as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, Crystal and Obsidian. This is so amazing. Yeah, and there's more here. Yep, this is super useful because I can just farm this right next to my base. My base is down there. Just down there. And I can finally make a spyglass. Finally! I can see levels and stuff far away. Nice! I miss this. Now I can search for things. Yes, spyglass. And that's why I tamed the Procoptodon. Super easy to come up here. And move around the map, so that's kind of cool. Wait. Why didn't I just tame one of these? I could just fly up there. And it would be a lot easier. I have a Procoptodon now. I should have tamed Limentria. I never tamed them, so I just didn't realize it. Thing is, a spyglass wasn't the only use I had for Crystal. You might have realized by now, but the taming counter has been at 0 for the entire time. And well, there's two reasons for that. First, did you count how many creatures died so far? Yeah, it was going to be super complicated to keep track of everything and way more confusing for you. And secondly, as I said at the beginning, I am only counting creatures that I capture inside these balls. They're like cryopods, but I'll only be using them to collect the creatures. Everything else must be done with an actual cryopod. And speaking of cryopods, it was about time I made some. But there was still one thing I wanted to do before that. So I stocked up on trank arrows, climbed the cliff once again to farm a bunch of rare mushrooms, and I went out to find and tame another Procoptodon. Not only did I want a higher level one, but having a spare kangaroo at base was always helpful. And after searching for a bit, I ended up finding a 135. It was more than enough for what I needed, but I just say that taming it didn't go that well. Not only was the terrain hard to maneuver, which led to me just losing the Procoptodon easily, there were also a bunch of bad things around.
There's a Microraptor behind me. Yep, I heard. There's 2. No. 3. No. So many. Oh, he's still after me.
I kept losing the Procoptodon, finding him again, and it was only after I got caught once again by a Microraptor and almost dying to a Saber, and getting caught by another Microraptor and almost dying to a Mantis, that I decided that this wasn't worth it because I might just end up losing my own Procoptodon. So I started heading back to base, and that's when I found a 125. It was a lower level, yes, but not by much, and this one clearly wanted to be tamed because it even trapped itself. See, sometimes you just kinda give up on something to get something better. Life advices from your friendly neighborhood Ark enjoyer. You're welcome. While the new Procoptodon was taming, I had plenty of time on my hands, so I started making narcotics and then I went exploring. My idea was to try and get a few supply drops, though the game wasn't really that helpful with that.
Wildcard. What is this? What? Dingo! I threw Dingo. No! Can I get him back? Oh, I can. Oh, it disappears. Oh, this drop is amazing.
While I was going from drop to drop, I was also trying to find some red jug bugs, because these guys give you oil, and I was going to need some. And at this point, I was just having fun with it, to be honest, until I finally realized that it was night again, and that means cold.
Oh, it's cold. I'm almost dead. It's cold. I didn't remember about it. Oh, no. Yep, I'm almost dead. I need campfires. Fast. Please be warm enough. Please be warm enough. Okay, I'm not dead. Not dying. Why do I do this to myself?
And once again, I was stuck next to 2 campfires because of the cold. I never learned. Though this time I had a plan. I decided to try and make a hide armor. This set of armor gives a bunch of cold resistance, and it might just be enough to keep me alive until I reached my base. So I spent some time killing every creature around the campfire and testing to see if it was still too cold. And I even ended up having to venture a bit farther away and fighting a couple of sabers to get enough hide to finish my armor. But once that was done, the cold was no longer a problem. I got my new Procoptodon that was already tamed, went back to base, and it was time to finally make some cryopods. There was only one resource that I was still missing: polymer. But for that, I would need to go to the desert and fight some mantis. And you're probably doubting that I can manage to do it with a kangaroo. And if that's the case, you simply just don't know about the kangaroo fighting style.
And now the master of Kangoo Fu. That doesn't make sense. But you can't land, so it's not dumb if it works.
Yeah, the knockback on these guys is insane, and most creatures just can't even get to you. With the polymer farmed, I just needed to find a supply drop to make the cryopods. And let's be honest, on this map, you don't even have to look for them. I went for a purple drop, put all the materials inside, had to farm a bit of fiber because I always forget about fiber. Really, I don't know why, but it's always fiber. And then I started crafting the cryopods and just spent my time fighting a Thyla while I waited for them to be ready.
Die. Just die. Okay, took long. Oh, got a map. No. Map. The green one might give me something useful. Never know. Yeah.
With my inventory full of freshly made cryopods, I went back to base because it was finally time to start taming stuff. And it only took 6 hours. Yeah, I know, a bit of a slow start, but I had a few more problems than normal. But don't worry, because things were about to take a turn for the better. So, at the start of hour 7, I stocked up on arrows, prepared my equipment, grabbed a bunch of narcotics, and it was taming time. And my first target was a Doedicarus that I knocked out next to my base. I was going to need resource creatures eventually, and speaking of resource creatures, after knocking out a Morellotops, I also found a low-level Anki who I knocked out. And now stone and metal were no longer a problem. Then I passive tamed the Lystro, which took a bit more effort to do, knocked out an Archie who I fed chitin, and that's when I decided to tame this Terrorbird. And so far, I didn't have that much luck with Terrorbirds, and my luck wasn't about to change. Don't get me wrong, I was able to knock him out, though I kinda forgot they wake up super fast, so I had to knock him out again. I grabbed the Archie that I had fully tamed, and this time I tried to get some prime meat to guarantee that I tamed the bird, which shouldn't be that hard unless you piss off a couple of Morellotops. Trust me, these guys can rival Therizzinos in how far they can run just to get to you. And since I couldn't get rid of them, I just decided to give up and go back to base. I grabbed every tamed creature along the way, and that's when I found out that The Domidicarus either died or woke up, but he was nowhere to be found. Guess I had to find a new one. I grabbed one of the wolves I had at base and I took off to find more creatures to tame. And the reason I brought the direwolf with me, it's because it is way easier to hunt creatures and get some prime meat with them. And after that was done, I started knocking out random creatures I found, like a Theodon, a thorny dragon, and a new terror bird. Thing is, at the start of this hour, I said things were about to take a turn for the better. And no, I wasn't talking about me finding and taming creatures, well, that too, but the important part is something I got a while back. Do you remember the treasure map I got from the Thyla? Well, let's just say that this time, it was actually a treasure.
Come on, second time's a charm. Give me something useful. Something I can use, like armor or something. Ooh! Holy moly, that's a crossbow. Now that's a Yep, that was worth it. That was a treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just went from having to run across the whole map just to knock out a creature to having a beastly crossbow that could knock out a lot of things in no time. So I continued taming creatures like this Pago, and even with my new crossbow, there was still some mishaps.
I don't want to kill it. No. And it's dead. I was trying not to kill the Lymandria.
Then I found a buried Perlovia that I baited into jumping out of the ground, making it super easy to knock out. Found out that the second terror bird also woke up, so I knocked out a new one, and this time I made sure it was going to fully tame before I left its side. Had to make a stop to save my new Deodon that was being attacked. Tried to tame a raptor, only for it to die. Yeah, sometimes having a crossbow like this doesn't help, but I ended up finding a new raptor, and this time I didn't kill it. And my crossbow was so strong that I even decided to try and knock out a Paraceratherium. I thought it might pose a bigger challenge. Well, I was wrong. Funny thing though, I actually didn't give him any berries, by mistake. Then I was attacked by a Microraptor, who I also knocked out, tried to do the same to a Galley, but these guys are super fast, and I just lost him, gave some narcotics to the Microraptor so he wouldn't wake up, and after a while searching, I even knocked out an Iguanodon. And that's when I finally realized that I didn't feed the Paraceratherium. So, after a quick hop to give him some berries, I decided it was time to head back to base. Though I still tried to tame another Galley along the way, and it just died. The problems of having too good loot. And just as I got to base, I found a Lymantry around, so I just knocked it out too. And I gotta say, it was a slow start, yes, but in just 1 hour, I made a pretty big dent. With 11 total new tames, things were looking great. So I started hour 8 by making a few more dino balls and sorting some things out at base. And it was time to start collecting all the tamed creatures I had scattered around. It took some time to get them all because they were far from each other, but since the Paraceratherium and Lymantria were still not tamed, I just passed the time taming more stuff. I found a Moschops that wanted rare mushrooms, and luckily enough my Procoptodon had some with it. I knocked out a Scorpion, and after waiting for a bit he also tamed, and I even went on to knock out a low-level Carno that was around, and even the Carno tamed before the Paraceratherium's taming meter moved a single time. I thought something was wrong with it, maybe he ran out of berries to eat or something, but apparently it was just a bug, I guess, because as I got closer to him, he just started eating again and tamed. I don't know, sometimes this kind of stuff just happens in Ark, okay? I picked him up, went to base, grabbed the Lymantria, and my tamed creature box wasn't looking so empty anymore. Though there is a creature that I still hadn't tamed that was going to be game changer. I didn't pay much attention to my level until now, but I was really close to being able to make an Orgy saddle. And we all know how useful those are. So I whipped up a trap, took off in search of one to tame, and I went straight to my favorite orgy place in this map. There are lots of high places I could build my trap on, and it was full of orgies. One problem though, they were all low level. I kept searching and decided to settle for a level 95. More than enough for what I needed, but after setting up the trap, the orgy just decided to try and kill a 145 Ceratosaurus.
Shouldn't have done that. Really shouldn't have done that. Yep.
I kept searching and there was a whole lot of RGs around, and soon enough, I found this one. 125 is good enough, so I set up my trap, and after shooting at her with my crossbow, I managed to trap it. And now I just needed to knock it out.
Oh! My crossbow is too strong.
Yeah, luck wasn't on my side, and to make matters worse, the heat was starting to make it hard to see, though there was no shortage of RGs, and I was able to spot this one.
Ooh. No, don't do the RG thing, turn around, just don't go that way. Yes! Yeah, no, she aggroed onto them. No. Wait, she's coming around. Wow.
Despite the bad start, this RG was smarter than the others, and instead of fighting, she just flew away. I had to lead her all the way to the trap, but this time I was more careful and I ended up knocking her out. And while I waited, I decided to just hunt stuff around the trap. I still needed levels for the saddle, and there were a few things I wanted to start farming.
And I'll be needing that, mate. Thank you.
Everything was going alright, but the heat was starting to be a problem. So, after killing a Lymantria, I made a tent and waited. And after the heat stroke went away, I passed the rest of the time trying to hit creatures from afar with my crossbow, and eventually it was tamed. But I still didn't have a saddle for it, so I cryopoded the RG and made my way back to base with my Procoptodon.
Starting hour 9, I went around collecting a couple of explorer nodes, which gave me enough EXP to unlock the RG saddle. And after I made it, I could finally fly around safely in the sky. But that's also when I realized that my base was in need of an urgent upgrade. There were a few things I had to get up and running as soon as possible, and I was already a bit late on that. First step was to tame the rest of the resource creatures, which was just a Doedicurus because the first one I knocked out disappeared. And although I could also use the Thorny Dragon for wood and I'd already tamed one, there was a much better way to farm it. I was just missing a few resources. Next step was making a fabricator, and when I said I was missing a few resources, yeah, turns out I didn't spend that much time farming, so I was actually missing a lot of them. So I picked up my Anki and went all the way to the mountains to farm metal. And on my way back to base, I made a few stops to get flint, so that way I could also make spark powder. But just as I was reaching my base, I noticed that I had a not so welcome visitor around. So they did start spawning. Yeah, that's not that great. I hate these guys. Yeah.
I could just get rid of him, but since I still hadn't tamed a Capro, it was much better just to get it done now. After feeding him, I went back to taking care of things at my base. With all the resources I farmed with the Yankee, I was going to be able to take care of a lot of things around. Though it didn't take long for the Capro to fully tamed, and when I went to pick him up, I discovered that apparently it wasn't just one visitor.
And another, whoa. Oh, there's another Capro. Okay, just jumped out of nowhere.
Yeah, one of the downsides of living next to this river is that you'll have to deal with Capros from time to time. With that done, it was time for the next step of my home improvement. And after a bit of time collecting dino poop, me and my RG went to tame a new creature. We made a few stops along the way to get some supply drops, some more useful than others, and eventually we made our way to the desert. And it didn't take long for me to find my target, dung beetles. I was going to need some vegetables eventually, and dung beetles were going to help a bunch with it. After taming them, it was time to head back to base, but I saw a few drops around and decided to see if my loot luck was getting better. Though sometimes, you don't even have to see the loot to realize that the game isn't trying to make things easier for you.
I really don't have that much energy. Yeah, I gotta wait. Yep. Dung beetle, it's time to go. Let's go get the drop. It's a purple one, might give me something, and it's despawning. Oh, why? Are you kidding me?
With the sudden realization that Ark wasn't on my side, I went back to base, dropped my dung beetles, and just took off once again because I still had things to do. Which wasn't hunting for drops, but you can't just ignore them. And while doing so, I actually took care of one of my tasks. Leveling up my RG because it was in dire need of some levels. Once that was done, I made my way to the red obelisk because my second objective was to farm silica pearls. This place is completely full of them, and if you have a whip with you, in just a few minutes you'll have as many silica pearls as you'll need. Then I went back to base and of course I made a stop for a supply drop, and once I was back I finally crafted the fabricator. With the silica pearls I just gathered, I was able to start crafting electronic and finish my desert armor, and now it was time for my farm. It was really dark so I just couldn't see that much really, but I was able to whip up a small greenhouse with crop plots for each of the vegetables. Only thing I needed now was to wait until my dung beetles made fertilizer. And while I waited, I started prepping up other things. I went out with my Doedicurus to farm a bunch of stone, made a water tap and installed it at base, and even went to get a drop that actually gave me some useful things. But only after all of this did I realize that I completely forgot to put the dung beetles to water. So yeah, they weren't making fertilizer anytime soon. I ended up deciding to just use the poop instead because in reality, it was more than enough. And after tilling the crops with a shovel, my greenhouse was fully functional. And it was time to move my focus to a different matter. Something that I had to do as soon as possible, and probably one of the most dangerous things I had to do. It was time to face the wyvern trench and steal my first wyvern egg. I probably should have planned something to make it safer, but I didn't. I just took off with my RG and decided to do what I do best, which is making up a plan on the spot. Along the way, I made a stop for an explorer note and a purple drop, which actually was more work than it was worth. Thing is, I could always just destroy the structures to get a few resources from it, so it wasn't that worthless after all. And eventually, we made it all the way to the trench that was completely full of wyverns and not a single egg in sight. Getting closer to the trench was too dangerous, so all I could do was fly around far enough from the wyverns and check each hole that I could see for a nest. And flying the length of the trench takes a bit of time, long enough for me to start being a bit too distracted from what was around me.
No! Oh, Jesus. No, 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 no. Oh, he's faster than me. And this is really bad. The pony is going to kill me. Please stop. No! Aggro onto something else. Please just aggro. Ah, yes. Tape jar, come here. Aggro onto the tape jar, please. Or the RG, something else. Just not me. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a close call. But at the same time, it actually showed me something. The wyvern only got to me because he was out of the trench. And looking at it now, all of the wyverns were also starting to fly out of the trench. So basically, the safety of this mission was proportional to my patience. And I'm not a patient person, but I did my best. If I just stood by for a while, the wyverns would slowly but surely all leave the trench. And on top of that, since I gave it a bit of time, the eggs were starting to spawn. So, after targeting a few eggs and seeing if the coast was clear, I made my move. And since I was going to steal an egg anyways, I decided to check some levels first and get the highest one, though I didn't expect to find this.
Oh, 120. Okay, yeah, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, I gotta do it. Yeah, I'm going for it.
Now that I knew which one to steal, I just needed to not get caught. Thing is, I actually came up with a plan. It was risky, but it should work. I just needed to not get killed before I reached the mountains. But, to my surprise, I didn't even have to use the plan. Since I waited for so long, the wyverns flew so far away from the trench that they didn't even notice that I stole an egg. So I just flew straight back to my base without a single wyvern coming for me. And just like that, I had my first egg. And not only was it level 120, it was also the kind of wyvern I wanted. An electric one. You'll get why later, but now I still need to hatch the thing. And if you know wyvern eggs, they take a lot of ACs to hatch, or in my case, campfires. It took me a while to figure out how many I needed, but once it was going, I just needed to wait. And that's when I did a bit of an oopsie. You see, waiting for a wyvern egg to hatch takes a while, even with my slightly increased hatching settings. And yes, I could have gone and farmed resources or done anything else while I waited, but I decided to just go do something else and left the game running, and this happened.
I died. No! Dingo is... Oh, I died to the fire. No! Dingo is dying. And that is really bad. Dingo! Dingo! No! No! Yeah. This way. Dingo! Dingo! No! No! The guy died to the fire. No, Dingo. My boy. It was like a son to me. Instead, to the fire. Why? I let my dingo die to the fire. That's the worst kind of way he could have died. Burning alive. And that's me. Half underground. And the egg isn't even hatching. Why? You're supposed to be hatched by now. Wait. Yeah, there's a campfire. Really?
After setting the egg back on the campfires, it didn't take long for it to hatch, and I finally got my first wyvern. But at what cost? Another dingo down. Still, I got a wyvern, so that has to count for something, though it was still completely useless because now I needed to wait for it to fully grow. So while I waited, I went out to, once again, tame a new dingo.
Okay, you're going to be my best mate. You're not going to die. You're Dingo the 4th, and I'm not going past the 4th. I'm not. I have 14 hours left. Okay. 4 dingoes in 10 hours, not that bad. Let's be honest, it's actually not that bad.
Then I went back to base, had to deal with a new capro that spawned around, and that's when I realized something. The wyvern was going to take a fair bit of time to grow, and since he had enough food to not starve while growing, I decided to just try my luck once again in the trench. There was one type of wyvern that was crucial for me finishing this challenge, and I wanted to have it fully grown as soon as possible, and might as well make the most out of the situation there. Though, when I reached the trench, I found out that things weren't as I'd left them. New wyverns had spawned inside, and going in blindly was no longer an option. So it was back to scouting from afar, getting sneak attacked by a poison wyvern on the process, and while I waited for them to leave the trench, that's when I spotted my target. A fire wyvern egg. I was going to need one if I ever hoped to tame a phoenix. So, after waiting a bit longer for the last stubborn wyvern to leave, I went straight for the egg and oh boy, was it a good one.
Holy moly. That's a max level. Yep, I'm going to steal this one. Yes. No wyverns. You have energy? Yeah, she's full of energy. Okay. Let's go. Just fly fast. Just fly fast, please. Just go as fast as you can.
A max level egg was way more than I could have hoped for, but this time I was sure that leaving this place wasn't going to be so easy. But apparently, waiting for the wyverns to leave before stealing the egg proved to be the best plan I'd come up with. And once again, no wyvern came for me, and it was a straight shot back to base. And although I had new visitors when I arrived, my focus was solely on the egg. And in no time, it was surrounded by campfires, hatching, and I just waited. From really far away this time because I was done taming dingoes. After some time, my new wyvern hatched, and now I had 2 wyverns growing, which was still going to take a bit of time, so instead of just sitting by waiting, I decided to head out and see if I could tame some dinos. There was one I really wanted to tame, but while searching, and after knocking out a Megatherium and running like a madman after a galley, something happened that completely changed my plans.
Oh, superheat. It's a superheat. Phoenix.
Even though my fire wyvern was still a baby, I had to make the most out of every superheat. And just so you understand the problem here, in 11 hours, I had a total of 1 superheat. So yeah, I had to make the most out of it. My plan was to just try and find a phoenix. That way, during the next superheat, I would know where it was and I'd just go straight for it. Thing is, as the name says, it's hot. Super hot. So, after a bit of jumping around, I had to just hide myself in a tent just to not die somewhere random. And unfortunately, a big part of the event was just wasted. But I was still hopeful that during the next one, I could get things done. It didn't take that long for the superheat to end, and just like that, I was back to searching for things to tame. My Megatherium was almost done, so I went straight for him. But along the way, I ended up finding the creature that I was looking for.
There's a Tyler right there. Yes, there's a Tyler. Yeah, I want that one. Yep.
A Thyla was going to be super useful for what was coming, and I was actually searching for a high level one. Now, I just needed to tame it, which wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, because it decided to try and eat a dead baby Procoptodon, but for some reason, just couldn't, and stood there while I filled it with a whole bunch of arrows, and in no time, it was knocked out. Luckily, I got a bit of cooked meat from a drop, and side note, Thylas prefer cooked meat, got a bit of prime from the dead Procoptodon the Thyla couldn't farm, and after setting up a campfire, I started cooking it. Then I went to get my Megatherium that was just about to tame, but as I reached it, I found that a galley was just beside it. So I gave it another try, and after a while running after it, I just ended up killing the poor thing.
And I just killed it. One of these days, trust me, one of these days, I'll tame a galley. One of these days.
After that, I go back to the Thyla, fed it some cooked meat from the campfire, filled it with so many narcotics that it wouldn't wake up anytime soon, and now it was just a matter of waiting. Which I just didn't do because that would be a waste of time. So I go back to base to check on my wyverns, who were still growing, and spent a few minutes hopping around on my Procoptodon and looting every drop I saw in hopes of any decent loot. When I got back to base, the Thyla was already fully tamed, so I stored my new Megatherium in the box, made a Thyla saddle, refertilized my crops, and I went out to take my new Tame for a spin. And I do love me some Thylas, but I still needed to level up the Angry Kangaroo thingy before it was as strong as a Thyla could be. So I started fighting everything I could find, grabbed an Explorer node, and went straight for the desert to hunt the biggest EXP source on Scorched: Deathworms. Thanks to the Thyla bleed and some pretty good kiting skills, if I may say so myself, facing these phobia-inducing desert behemoths wasn't that much of a challenge, though they still made a hefty dent on my Thyla. While I was searching for more deathworms, I took a bit of time to farm a bunch of organic polymer, and in reality I didn't even fight any more deathworms because the game decided that sending them in pairs my way was a funny thing. So instead of searching for more, I decided to make a bit of a detour and visit one of my favorite places on this map. In case you didn't know, if you come here and make your way through the ruins, you'll find this.
I love this spot. Look at this. Yeah, oh, I love this. And there's a Rex and a guy just chilling. Technically he's dead, but he's still chilling. And there's paintings of Rexes and people with sticks and all. I love this place.
After exiting the cave, I decided it was about time to head back to base. My Thyla was really needing a break and there were other things I needed to do.
That's a ring drop. Yeah. Rock Elemental Saddle. That's super nice.
When I got back, I realized that my electric wyvern was almost fully grown. Almost. So, to make the most out of the probably 2 minutes I had to wait, I decided to spend 15 going around and farming as much metal as I could with my Yankee, dealing with my annoying neighbors, and making a chainsaw so wood was super easy to get now. And once that was done, my lightning wyvern had finally fully matured, and it was leveling up time. I grabbed a few explorer nodes and went straight for the Rex rock. Yes, that rock, and started wreaking havoc on the Rexes. And luckily, all the Rexes had babies with them, so double XP I guess. And I really needed that XP because my lightning wyvern, just like every other wyvern, lacks a bit in terms of energy. But once I was satisfied with the level, it was time to go back to the trench, because I still had a few more things to take care in this place. The first one was to steal more eggs, and with the lightning wyvern by my side, dealing with other wyverns was much easier now because you can just do this. Yeah, lightning wyverns are OP, just make sure that the wyverns you're facing aren't super high level. And if you're wondering about other lightning wyverns, well, your lightning attack doesn't affect them, but neither does their lightning attack, so you can just land and auto attack them. Thing is, they still do a whole bunch of damage to you, so be careful because sometimes things like this might happen.
Okay, it's doing too much damage to me. Yeah. What level are you? Jesus. Nah, I just gotta fly away. I can't deal with that.
Yeah, didn't go as smooth as I thought, but this glow skull was actually super useful because it showed me something. I went straight to the trench and just stole my first poison wyvern egg, and instead of fighting, I just flew away. Because what I learned is that, apparently, other wyverns were just slower than me, and I could just fly away from them and they just lose aggro. And now that I knew this, I just kept stealing more eggs, and every time I stole an egg, I just outflew every other wyvern. With 2 more eggs in my inventory, I had enough for everything I needed. But my trench adventure wasn't done yet, because there is one creature that I still hadn't tamed, and it only spawns at the bottom of the trench. And I'm talking about pyromanes. I didn't know how complicated this would be, but turns out it isn't complicated at all. Pyromanes don't aggro onto wyverns, and you can just pick them up and fly them away to a body of water. It's as simple as that. And after hitting the pyromane for a bit, I hopped onto its back, and finding things to fight in this desert isn't that much of a challenge. And in no time, the pyromane was tamed, and it was one less creature off the list. Then it was time to go back to base and start hatching some eggs, because not only did I get a pyromane, but also the last wyvern I needed that I set to hatch in a mix of ACs and campfires. As for the other eggs, those were for 2 other tames I still had to get. While I waited for the poison wyvern egg, I took care of some things at base and farmed wood to keep the campfires burning. Once the egg hatched, I quickly put the poison wyvern in a tamed box, and that's when I realized that my fire wyvern was almost fully grown, but I still had some time to spare. So I decided to tame a creature that I should have tamed way sooner than this, and I only remembered about it now. I'm talking about bees, because I was going to need some honey as soon as possible, but that's what you get when your motto is plan it while you're doing it, which is actually what I do with most stuff in my life. And this is probably as good a time as any. If you made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to drop a like. It really does help a lot appeasing the algorithm gods. Didn't script that, planned it while I was doing it. See, kinda works. So, after making a ghillie armor and some bug repellent, I went straight into the canyon, and I'll be honest with you. 90 to 95% of the times I try to tame bees, things don't go right and something completely random happens, which was actually going accordingly. Search for bee, don't find bee, sandstorm. Sounds about right. But let's say that things took a turn for the better, because after the sandstorm, I actually found bees. Yes! Bees! And even better, I tamed them first try. Both of them. Don't ask me how this happened. I'm as clueless as you are. Usually this doesn't... Okay, I'll be honest, okay? Mayhaps, maybe, I don't know. People say that, maybe. I'm a bit more lucky than usual in this game. I just say I'm not to appear more relatable. But not with bees. I don't mess with bees. Bees look at me and go, "Rah, that guy's ugly." They don't like me. I don't know why. But I tamed both of them, so that has to count for something. Okay? Nice. And I actually needed two of them. One was for the tamed box and the other one to make a beehive. And while I was going back to base to put the beehive down, I had an idea. Since I brought rare flowers with me, might as well put them to good use and tame another creature. Tape jars usually run away from you super fast. But if you eat a bit of rare flowers, they instead attack you, so it's much easier to trap them and knock them out. But while I was farming a few resources to make some bolas, I remembered something. My crossbow is amazing.
Guess I could just do this. No? Do you knock out? No, it doesn't. Oh, wait, it does! And I was making bolas. I have a crossbow. I don't need bolas. I just shoot it.
I fed it and just left the tape jar to tame. But I was close to the mountains and realized something. There were a few creatures that spawn around in this biome that I still hadn't tamed. So that was going to be my next objective. Though, first I had to go back to base because my beehives don't make honey if they're in my inventory. I also stored the other bee in the tamed creature box, picked up a trap I'd made and a bunch of narcotics, and took off with my brand new fire wyvern that had fully grown in the meantime. And after hitting up a red drop, it was time to pump some levels into it. And I decided to work on two different things at the same time, because after picking up an explorer note, I started hunting Ceratosaurus. Not only because they give decent EXP, but also because eventually I was going to need a bunch of their venom spines. I got another explorer note along the way, and after fighting a bunch of creatures for levels, my wyvern's level was growing fast. So, after picking up my tape jar that I fully tamed, it was time to start taming mountain creatures. I found a high spot, set up my trap, and before I even had time to start searching for creatures to tame, a pack of hyaenodons spawned right beside me. And since I still hadn't tamed one, I decided to pet that dog. This taming method takes a bit more time, and it's basically a passive tame where you have to pet the dog. And eventually, he likes you so much, he becomes your friend. Way more logical than shooting something until it falls unconscious and then feeding it random food until it likes you. Have you ever realized that? Ark is basically a Stockholm Syndrome simulator. Yeah. Better not to think about it too much. So, after the dog was my friend, I set off to find a new creature to tame. And I'll be honest, it took really long to find this one. Way longer than I expected since I was searching for a Candro, and they're usually everywhere. It took so long that I was almost dead to the heat, and I ended up having to use my tent to protect myself and shoot the Candro from inside. And after it was knocked out, I decided to spend a few minutes in my tent just to restore my health and get rid of the heat stroke. And then I started searching for another creature I could tame. Hunted a few more Ceratosaurus along the way, and eventually I found one.
Yeah, there's a Yuti. I'm going to tame you. He's fighting what? Oh, a rock elemental. Yeah, apparently I gotta find another one.
I was really having trouble finding mountain creatures that I usually see everywhere. And only after a long flight did I find another Yuti. And taming these guys without a trap is annoying, because they are super fast, have the fear roar, and you have to deal with Carnos that may be with it, and all the other creatures it might decide to attack just because. but eventually I managed to knock it out. While I waited for the UT to fully tamed, I went back to get my Cantro, hunted a few more Ceratosauros, and once the UT was fully tamed, I picked him up, got back to base, and stored all my new creatures inside the box. After this mountain adventure, I also realized that there was another biome, if you can call it a biome, that is full of creatures and I still hadn't tackled. So, after making some preparations at base, crafting some C4, grabbing a deathworm horn and one of the wyvern eggs, it was time to start taming creatures in the desert. But I am physically incapable of just passing by a ring drop and not opening it, which ended up leading me into a completely different task. The drop gave me an oil pump and I thought, well, that's nice, I could always use more oil. So I went to place it, and when I was about to go back to the desert, I found this.
That's not a horse. That's a unicorn. No, he's being attacked. Nope. No. Get away, Saber. Get away. I need that. Stop it. Okay, I need this guy.
I'll be completely honest here, I didn't even know these guys existed in this map. And while I was recording this, it wasn't even in the list of creatures I had to tame. Truth be told, if I hadn't found this, I wouldn't have tamed one. Though it kinda makes sense really, horses spawn on this map, but it just didn't come to mind at the time. So I brought a unicorn close to base, grabbed some carrots, and after a while trying to get close to it, it was another tamed creature. And with that done, it was finally time to go back to the desert. First thing I did was to swap my wyvern for my Thyla, because that way I can just shoot creatures from its back. And my first stop was at the Rex rock. Yes, that rock, where I found a lonely Rex that I easily knocked out. The next creature I wanted to tame was this snake that just tied to a vulture, which wasn't actually that bad because I also needed to tame a vulture, so yeah. And my next target was a mantis. I only had a single deathworm horn, but I thought it might be enough for level 10, though the mantis wasn't, let's say, cooperative with the situation.
Don't aggro. No, don't aggro. Just get tamed. No. Why? No. No! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do whatever you're pissed about. I'm sorry.
I did try again and again, but it just kept on attacking me, so I just killed it and moved on to another creature, a Titanoboa. Luckily, this one wasn't being attacked by vultures, and with the lightning wyvern egg I had, taming it was a piece of cake.
I think she's going for the egg. Oh, she is. And tamed. Oh, I thought one was enough.
Well, apparently one egg isn't enough, which means I would eventually have to go back to the trench. I grabbed the Rex that I had already tamed and started searching for a specific creature that was probably going to be the longest tame of them all, a Phazolasuchus. Side note, I always pronounce it Phazalasuchus, not Fazola. Why? I don't know. And now I hate the fact that it isn't. It bothers me. That's it. That was just me venting, okay? Back to ramming a lizard into rocks until it likes you. So, the way you tame these guys is you ram it into rocks until it likes you. Yeah, well, not actually. Rocks also give it torpor, but it's so little that they really only serve to refill the control meter. The best things you can ram it into are metal nodes, salt rocks, and bones. All things that I just couldn't find around me at the time. I could occasionally find bones and salt rocks in the desert, but since there were so few and there are no rocks around, I could easily just lose control and be dismounted. So I had to keep coming back to the mountain and hit some rocks. And after this entire explanation, I think it's a good time to tell you that I didn't even tame the thing. Why? Well, I didn't realize at first.
Oh, Super Eat. Yeah, I gotta abandon this. Yeah, I need the Phoenix. It's harder to find. I need to go after it. Yeah, Wyvern. Let's go. I need that Phoenix. Fast.
This was the second superheat I got in almost 15 hours, but this time was different. I had a fire wyvern with me and I just needed to find that Phoenix. Just like last time, the heat was just too much and I had to stop and hide in my tent. But I was so focused on finding that Phoenix that I even came up with a plan. What if I made a quick little reset? Instead of being afraid of dying to the heat, I could just make a sleeping bag, eat some no-no paste, and I was back on it. I was 15 hours deep in this, and I was not about to waste another superheat, and I was going to find that Phoenix. So, after another quick little reset, the superheat ended, and I didn't find it. Yeah, searching for a Phoenix was a bit harder than I first thought. But, let's say that flying around for 15 minutes straight really does give you time to think. And think I did, and plan I found. I just needed some time to prepare. But since I was close to the wyvern trench, I decided to take care of another problem first. I wasted one wyvern egg on that snake earlier, so I had to steal a new one. Though I decided to steal more than just one, just to be sure. And once that was all done, it was back to my new plan. And it all started in this city, where I had to put my plans on pause once again because I found a snake, and I decided to tame it. It did take some time because the Titanoboa was more focused on getting to me rather than the eggs, but eventually I was able to tame it. And it was once again back to the plan. And the reason I came here wasn't to tame anything. I came to this city because it is packed full of explorer notes. Really. I kept going from house to house and even outside the city, and in less than 10 minutes, I found a total of 10 explorer notes, which gave me a grand total of a single level. Not that bad really, because at least my Thala got a massive boost in levels, and I was going to need that extra strength for the next part of the plan, which was killing everything in sight and hunting deathworms.
Hey, oh no, there's two. Nope. No.
The Explorer notes do give a bit of EXP, but what I was after was the Multiplier. That way, a single deathworm would give me tons of EXP.
Please drop the thing. Drop the thing. Yeah! I need black pearls. And levels. 3 levels. I'm getting to it. I just need a few more.
The only problem with this was, well, my Thyla was really taking a beating, so I decided to swap it for my wyvern for a bit, which is good if you're just hunting random creatures and going for desert drops. But these guys really struggle versus deathworms, and after just a single fight, well, I decided it was just best to use a Thyla instead and just kite the deathworms around. Though, finding deathworms started becoming a bit of a problem. I couldn't find a single one, and I even found an Oasasaur that I decided to mark on my map just so I knew where it was later, and got struck by a sandstorm before I found a single deathworm, which made me realize that maybe I just needed to cover more ground faster. But luckily, I was already on a Thyla, the fastest creature on Ark. You don't believe me, do you? Yeah, look at this.
Okay, let's activate the thing. Just bunny hop, and there we go. Thylas, going fast since, I don't know, 2015. When did Ark come out? I don't know. Look at this.
Yep, bunny hopping on the Thyla really does build up speed, but even then, it really took me a while to find another deathworm. But once it did, it didn't stop. I kept finding deathworm after deathworm, and with my new strategy of just hitting the deathworm while they were burrowing and running away while they had the bleed effect, my Thyla didn't take that much damage, and after finishing a lap around the entire map and 5 deathworms later, I had finally gotten to my goal of reaching level 86. So, I gave a deserved rest to my Thyla and went back to base on my wyvern to finish up my plan. Gene Scanner. This tool is actually pretty useful. You can use it to check and harvest traits from your creatures, but that wasn't the use I had for it. The second function of this tool allows you to pick one Ark creature and then it points you in the direction of the closest one. So, come next superheat, I was guaranteed to find the Phoenix. I just had to pray that I had another superheat. But since I can't control that, I decided to focus on things that I could, like taming more creatures. So I made a few grenades that are way less expensive than C4, stored the creatures I tamed in the box, and I was off to the desert. My first target was an Arthro. It was a low level, so I thought it would be easy, but I just couldn't get to it. And once it aggroed onto me, I just killed it and moved on. Then I tried to tame a mantis, but I didn't even get to the point of trying because, man, vultures are really strong. So I went back to trying to tame an Arthro, and this time I got the idea of killing creatures to try and distract it, which actually worked pretty well. But since I had to wait to feed it again, I went around and found another mantis. This time I actually managed to tame it, and after getting back to the Arthro and feeding it for the last time, it was tamed. And now my target was a Fazolasuchus. Nope, I still don't like that name. But since my first try on taming one wasn't going that well, I came up with a plan. Instead of mounting the Fazola right away and then try to find things to ram it into, I just went around and started marking on the map every bone site and salt rock I could find. And let me tell you, doing things this way really makes it a lot easier. I basically went from spot to spot, and in no time the Fazola was knocked out. So I just fed it and left it to tame because I had a new target in mind. The Oasiosaur I'd seen before. Thankfully, I marked it on the map, so it didn't take long to find it. And the taming method for these guys is a bit different than normal. First off, you need the soul of a dead creature that belonged to you. And since I was on the 4th dingo, yeah, I wasn't short on souls. And after placing it in the Oasiosaur's inventory, you have to defend it against waves of vultures. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to defeat them all, but I decided to trust on my crossbow to carry me through the waves, which was actually working quite well. Though, at a certain point, I realized two things. The first one was, as the vultures get stronger and stronger each wave, eventually my crossbow wasn't going to be enough. And the second one was, well, I kinda forgot that the amount of taming the Oasiosaur gets depends on the health of the creature you put into its inventory, so yeah, since I was using a jerboa, well, it wasn't going that great.
Okay, the taming really does take a while. I didn't realize it was going to take that long. Okay, this is bad. Really bad.
So after realizing that not only this would take too much time, but also I'd probably not be able to finish it, I came up with a different plan. So I abandoned the Oasiosaur and I'd try again when I was better prepared. I got my Fazolasuchus that was already fully tamed, went back to base and started hatching another wyvern egg because there was another creature I was meaning to tame. So after setting up a trap close by, I went out to try and find it. And since this creature is actually pretty small, I thought it would take a while to find it, but apparently, no.
There's one. Oh, I just found one. Hello, little Trudon. I need you. And come with me. Ah, got him. Let's go. Why am I doing this? I don't know. But it looks cool. Yes.
I brought it back to base, dropped it inside the trap I built, started hatching another egg just in case one wasn't enough, and after one of them hatched, I contemplated the fact that I was about to sacrifice a wyvern with such amazing colors. I cryopoded it and sent it into the trap next to the Trudon. Or at least I tried to do it.
Can't fit. It's a baby. It should fit inside. No. What?
My only solution there was to release the Trudon and hope it would go after the wyvern. But apparently, against all Ark logic, this Trudon was a pacifist. So, after lowering the wyvern's HP, I decided to take matters into my own hands.
Oi, mate. I need you to eat the baby. Come on. He doesn't aggro onto me. Oh, he's aggroing. Let's go. After me.
It worked perfectly. But now comes the part where it actually didn't. I did tame the Trudon, but I was expecting to get the soul out of the wyvern and use it for the Oasiosaur. That was the plan. But I didn't realize at the time that you don't get souls from baby creatures. Good thing I left the other egg hatching, so at least I still had another one I could sacrifice eventually. And I say eventually because I still needed to wait for it to fully grow. In the meantime, my next goal was to tame a rock elemental. Having one would make taming a Ceratosaurus super easy. So, after farming a few resources and crafting a cannon, some cannonballs and a trap, I took off with my wyvern in search for one. And my first plan was, and I know this sounds dumb, to try and figure out which rock looked more like a rock elemental. Yeah, it sounds dumb, because it is. But then I remembered I have a gene scanner now, and this little gadget led me to the closest one nearby, which apparently was right next to my base. I really don't know how I didn't find it before. After setting up my trap and luring the rock elemental to it, it was just a matter of spamming cannonballs at it.
And another one. And another one. And another one. How many cannonballs does it take? Oh, it's knocked out. Let's go! Yeah.
Thing is, only after it was down did I realize that I didn't have anything decent to feed it. So I had to go get my RG at base, and after a quick drop stop, I used my Anki to farm a bit of sulfur. While I was at it, I also farmed a bit more metal, and after yet another drop stop, I got back to base, started smelting the metal, and fed sulfur to the rock elemental. Still, it was going to take a bit of time until it was fully tamed. So I just went around getting a few drops and hunting Ceratosaurus to farm the last spines I needed. And after I had enough, I stopped for a few more drops and went back to base to start crafting hemoglobin cocktails. This is what it's used to tame the Ceratosaurus. But I was still missing a crucial resource. So after crafting some blood extractors, I spent a few minutes just drawing blood to get blood packs, dying, respawning, and drawing more blood. And you guys, what do you do for a hobby? After the second death and a few more blood packs later, I had enough to make 2 cocktails, which is more than enough to tame a low-level Ceratosaurus. Though, I still had to wait a bit for my rock elemental to fully tame, so I just passed the time getting some resources and crafting gunpowder and cementing paste. And not long after, the rock elemental was tamed. I equipped it with an ascended saddle I got earlier from a drop, and not only had I tamed a new creature, but also the first step on taming a Ceratosaurus was completed. And now it was just a matter of taming it. So I cryopoded my rock elemental, picked up the trap I used for the Trudon, and I set off to find one. Right after I got this drop. By now I think you probably just assumed that I just go and get drops every time I'm flying around. I really don't know why I keep saying it, but while I waited for it to land, I also found a galley who I tried to tame. But the day I tamed a galley was still not this one. And the drop wasn't even that useful to be honest, but I just can't pass a ring drop. So back to the Ceratosaurus. I went straight into the mountains and ended up finding a single Ceratosaurus in an almost natural trap, so kinda useful. And the way you tame one of these guys is by feeding your creature an hemoglobin cocktail and then letting the Ceratosaurus attack you until it gets completely drunk. And that's why rock elementals are so useful for this. Since they have natural armor, the Ceratosaurus does next to no damage to you. And that way you don't have to swap creatures halfway through and spend more cocktails than you need. And once the Ceratosaurus is completely drunk, it turns into a passive tame. But strangely enough, I was still being attacked.
Oh, why am I being attacked? The guy's passive. Oh, it's the elusive rock saver. There he is. Come here. Can I kill you? Bah! Yes, killed it. Okay, killed it. You hungry? No, still not hungry.
It took a few minutes of waiting for the Ceratosaurus to be hungry, but eventually it was tamed. But I wasn't done taming creatures because I brought a trap and I was done not taming a galley. And today was the day I was going to tame one.
There you are. And you come with me. Yes, sir. Oh. I didn't know I couldn't pick them up. Well, that's annoying. I thought I could.
Well, guess it wasn't today too. But at least I ended up finding a horse which I tamed, and that's cool. And after another lap around the red obelisk, I even found a little ovis. But I still needed to make sweet vegetable cake to tame it, so I just brought it back to base and got to work cooking. I had every ingredient I needed to make a sweet vegetable cake. Actually, I had enough for 2. And since there is one other creature that eats this food, I had an idea. So, after taming the ovis, I took off with my wyvern straight to the Blue Obelisk Mountains because it was cave creature time. This cave has almost all cave creatures I would need, and that includes underwater onyx. Only problem was, since I never came to this cave and I was playing on single player, nothing had spawned and the cave was mostly empty. But I did end up finding my first target, a spider, which I completely lost 2 seconds after. I pressed on through the cave, found the super rare and elusive ceiling golem, and a few steps further, I found another spider. This time I made sure I didn't lose it, and after a couple of feeds, it was tamed. And let's make a pause here. You know, I've already told you that my plans usually are made up on the spot, and that kinda works most of the times, but then there's those times where it doesn't. And you end up in situations like this.
I think it's safe now. I think it is. I know. Wow, 275. Oh, that's bad. That's really bad. I didn't think about this. How am I going to tame one of these now? Wow.
Yep. Apparently, these little snails only spawn in stupid high levels in this map, which means one sweet vegetable cake wouldn't be enough, which means I need to make more, which means honey takes 45 minutes to be made. Do you get the concept of how that may be a problem? Yeah, guys, don't be like me. Plan things. But hey, although I may not be a good planner, I am also not a quitter. So I pressed on. Most of the cave was still empty until I got to the last 2 rooms and found a new target, onyx. But since these guys are passive tames, I had to first do a bit of cleaning around, which led me to finding out that this was going to be a bit of a problem.
Oh, no. No, why? It's going to be so annoying now. Why?
Having a rubble golem in here while I tried to tame an onyx was going to be a challenge. And to make matters worse, every time he lost aggro, the rubble golem would just walk straight back to where he had spawned. The only solution I found besides trying to kill it with my Thyla was to make it lose aggro by going all the way to the artifact room and then trying to do things on foot since the ghillie armor gave me a bit of stealth.
Okay, I'll probably be attacked anytime now, but I gotta do it. I gotta climb this up to the onyx. It's the only one left, so I gotta tame that one. I heard something. There's creatures in the walls. Oh no, they're in the walls. Almost. Yep, there's creatures in the walls. That's an Arthur or something. I don't like that.
Taming an onyx can be annoying because they just refuse to stop moving, but in between my attempts to tame it, I actually found my next target, a Megalania. But I needed to finish taming the onyx before I could do anything else.
Here it comes. Let me feed you. No. And again. No. No. Please, just let me feed you. No.
Yeah, as I said, bit annoying, but eventually I managed to tame it. And it was time for the Megalania, and let's just say that I may have miscalculated the distance between me and my Thyla a bit.
Where is it? Oh, there you are. Yeah, just one more. Okay. No. Mega rabies. No, no, he killed the Thyla killed it, and I have mega rabies now.
Yep, I just killed the only Megalania I'd seen so far, but since I'd been inside the cave for so long, things started spawning inside, so it didn't take long for me to find another one. Knocked it out, and a few steps ahead, I found the last creature I had to tame in this cave.
Oh, hi there. That's a Megalosaur. Nice.
Unfortunately, it was already nighttime and the Megalosaur was awake, which means it would take less torpor, but as always, my super crossbow made short work of it. And after going back to feed narcotics to the Megalania so it wouldn't wake up, going to sleep for a bit because I was attacked by a spider, and the Megalosaur finally taming, it was time to get off this cave and try and find a solution for the whole snail problem. Though halfway there, I realized that it was night, which means I could tame a creature that only spawns around this time. Dreadmares. And thanks to my handy dandy gene scanner, finding one was easy enough. Though the one I found was a level 90, and since I didn't want to waste too much time on this, I decided to go after a lower level one, which apparently super easy to do.
Oh, that's another one. What level are you? Please be a low level, and it is. That's nice.
Killing it with my wyvern wasn't that hard because of the burn, and after I got the altar from its inventory, I decided to do the entire taming during this night, which was already halfway through, so I had to speed things up. I placed the altar in a safe spot, and the first item it asked of me was Eutyranna's lungs, which of course, I didn't have. And if you don't know how to tame these guys, let me explain. After killing it, getting its altar and placing it, you'll have to fight the Dreadmare or Dreadstallion again. But it will ask you for one creature's apex drop. If you give it the item, the horse spawns and you just kill it. But if you don't, after a 5-minute timer, it will spawn both the horse and the creature to which the apex drop belonged. That wasn't much of a problem for me, but the 5 minutes timer was, because morning was fast approaching. I made quick work of the Dreadstallion, though I still had to do it all over again one more time. And this time it wanted RG talents, which I remembered I'd stored a few in my smithy just for an occasion like this. And after killing it a second time, it was tamed. And I gotta tell you, I love these guys. And I even decided to not pick it up right away and just leave it at my base. Might come in handy later. And with that done, it was back to the snail problem. And in the meantime, I actually came up with 2 solutions for this. The first one was the simple one. Bees. I just needed more bees. Thing is, you already know how bees and I work, but I might have to change what I said. Because you see, up until this moment, I still felt like they hated me. But even so, I went in search for bees to tame. And what happened was, I found one, tamed it first try, and I was like, well, that's nice. I have 2 beehives now, maybe I can make this work. Then I found the second one, tamed it first try, and I was like, well, don't mind if I do. But then, I found the third one, and I was like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. And it didn't feel right. Now imagine my surprise when I found 2 more next to each other and I actually tamed both. I tamed 5 bees in a single trip. Bees love me now. You want bees? I got bees falling off my pockets. I'm the bee man now. I'm all about bees. I want to be a beekeeper and grow bees. grow bees, that does... you get the point. I tamed a lot of bees, and now I have 6 beehives making honey. Thing is, as I said, I had 2 solutions. The first one was taken care of, and the second one was, from this point onward, if I ever saw a red drop, I would stop whatever I was doing and I was going straight for it. Why? Because red drops have a chance to give you sweet vegetable cakes, which means if I got some, I didn't have to wait for honey. But since it wasn't guaranteed, my main focus was the bees. But thinking about drops actually made me realize that I never came around to using these treasure maps. So I decided to go for the closest 3 that I had.
Come on, give me something good. Something good. Okay. I already had one, but this is actually better than the one I had, so I can't complain about it. I really can't complain.
Guess the game really wanted me to have a good crossbow. After getting the other 2 not so great treasures, I got back to base, placed all my new beehives and almost died while doing it.
Okay, this beekeeping thing is harder than I thought. It is. I gotta take one of these. I'm almost dead. I'm really almost dead, but that's the last one. Just some red flowers in there. Red flowers, let's go. And I have all of them up and running, and I'll have enough honey eventually.
And after repairing some equipment, farming a few resources, and storing my tames, I realized that my baby wyvern was almost no longer a baby, and it was time to finally tame the Oasasaur. Though, I also realized something else. Using this wyvern to do it was a bit of a mistake, because just like the dingo I used before, it wasn't that great in terms of health. But I might have a replacement for it with a whole lot more health.
Well, sorry about it, mate. It is what it is.
It was a bit sad because this was my first wyvern, but some things have to be done. And after collecting the other wyvern and storing it in the box, I took off with my fire wyvern and it was time to finally tame the Oasasaur. And that's when things got a bit buggy. I found the Oasasaur, but apparently the taming was still going and the dingo was under the Oasasaur. I continued the taming just to see where this was going, but then the vultures somehow got inside of it. And then it started flying and the dingo was completely underground and the vultures just stopped spawning altogether. So yeah, don't abandon your Oasasaur halfway through the tame. And seeing that this wasn't going to work, I left in search of another Oasasaur that I could tame. Didn't take that long to find it, and after placing the wyvern soul in its inventory, I decided to change things a bit. Instead of using my crossbow to kill the vultures, instead I used my fire wyvern. It did less damage per attack, but it attacked way faster, and this ended up making the entire taming process much easier. Though, by the end of it, my character was almost dead to the heat, so I quickly farmed a few resources, made a sleeping bag so I could rest, and this happened.
Please stop moving. Stop moving! Okay, and I gotta do this fast. I'm almost dead. Okay, how? How? Oh, I died to fall damage. Oh, that's so dumb. That's so dumb.
Yeah. Good thing I left my Dreadmare at base just for situations like this. Once I got back, I had to save my dingo from a snake, got my stuff back, stored my demon horse for the last time, and now it was just a matter of getting this giant flowing oasis all the way to base, which does take its time. And before you ask, no, you can't cryopod them. Halfway there, I even had to make a detour to grab a red drop. Didn't give me any cake, but I said I'd go for all that I saw. And then it was back to the slow trip to base. And when I finally made it, I landed the Oasasaur nearby, waiting for the moment I would need him again. But for now, I had another task in mind. There are 2 creatures that I still have to tame, and this is me being completely honest, I didn't even know they spawned in this map. Actually, I didn't even know about the place they spawn in. Yeah, I've completed this map before, so it's a bit strange I didn't know about it. But before we get into all of that, a couple of things happened while I was preparing myself. The first one was this ringed red drop, which of course I went to get, but the important one was the second one, which actually took me a bit of time to realize.
Anything useful? Sort of. I can destroy this for resources, so it's not that... Wait! Oh no, it's a superheat. It's a superheat. I gotta find the phoenix. Let's go. Find the phoenix.
Finally, it was time for my gene scanner to show its worth, and it took me straight to the phoenix, which was really close to my base apparently. I was really happy to finally tame this thing, but that happiness was short-lived.
I'll be honest, I expected the taming to go up faster than this.
I may have underestimated how hard it would be to tame a phoenix. I thought a couple of fire breath attacks would get it done, but it really does take more than a couple. Worse than that, actually. I kept running out of energy on my wyvern, so I had to land, and the phoenix just started losing taming progress, and the heat was slowly but surely depleting my health. So much so that after another rest break, I had to do a quick reset and once again go after the phoenix. But eventually, what I was expecting to happen, happened.
No, the superheat. No. No, I really thought I could do this in one try. Ah, this is so bad.
Even though I was lucky enough to get another superheat, my luck wasn't enough to also tame the phoenix. But, as always, you never know what might happen. And in case I get another superheat, I came up with a plan. Since now I knew exactly where the phoenix was, I could just build something on top of it, so next time it would trap itself. The red drop I got did end up being useful, but it didn't give me enough structures for the trap. So, after getting the red drop that spawned while I was taming the phoenix, and destroying most of the structures I had accumulated to get a bunch of resources, I made a few more metal walls and in no time the trap was set. And now it was just a matter of waiting and hoping I get another superheat. In the meantime, let's get back to the whole spot I didn't know about and the two creatures I still had to tame. Since I had all the stuff I needed for this, I went straight to the red obelisk because if you haven't figured out what I'm talking about, I'm referring to the entire cave that exists under this obelisk. Didn't exist in Ark Survival Evolved and it was only added on Ascended, and it actually explains why this area was always super laggy for me. As for the two creatures I was talking about, I only found out they were in this map when I was recording this. And another thing I ended up learning was that one of them can spawn at the entrance.
Oh, hi. Hi, let me just turn it up. Sorry. Yeah, I'll just go out. Yeah, no. Oh, it doesn't do that much damage, but it's still a bit scary. I'll be honest, it's still scary. Yeah. Hi. How are you? Yeah.
The mix between having a giant crocodile after me and the absolute frame drops that this cave causes made the situation a bit more scary than it should. But at least the Dinossauros was outside now, which makes it a whole lot easier to tame. But I had to do a bit of cleaning first so it didn't start aggroing onto other creatures. And while doing so, I even found a novice, so I have mutton now, which is great. I kept killing creature after creature, but it seemed like I wasn't even making a dent. There were creatures everywhere, including these annoying thorny dudes. But thankfully, my Thyla was able to take care of them, and it was finally time to tame the crocodile. Fed it one time, and it appeared to be smooth sailing from here on out, though things kept spawning. And by things, I mean galleys. I've been trying to tame a galley for a while now, and my luck with them hasn't been that great. Even so, I decided to give it a try.
Okay, I just gotta make sure the Dinossauros doesn't find him, which I think he will. He's turning this way. Or maybe not, because he likes to go in circles and... No! Where did you come from? Why? How?
Someday I will tame one. Just not this day, I guess. Or is it?
Oh, hi there. Stop running. Just knock out. Please just... No. Okay, now he's going to die. He's going to die because the Dinossauros just found him. Yep. And that's another fail.
Someday I'll do it. Someday I will tame one. Just not today. But even with the galleys showing up, I kept feeding the crocodile and hunting every creature that showed up that might pose a problem. And it didn't take long for another galley to show up. And after trying to knock it out and it just running far away from me, I decided that I wasn't going to fall for it again. My objective was the Dinossauros, and I was going to focus on that. But oh boy, were they tempting me. Worse than that, actually, they were luring the Dinossauros far away from me and into other creatures, making it harder to tame. But I was patient, and I waited until finally the Dinossauros was tamed.
And there it is, the giant crocodile is tamed, and now I just gotta find a galley to tame because I'm going to tame one.
I was mad, and I just ran after the first galley I saw, knocked him out, and just stood there staring at it menacingly. Finally, the day I tame a galley was today. Thing is, with all of this galley thing happening, I almost forgot that I still have to go inside the cave. So, after realizing that I left my dingo on the ground when I was chasing the phoenix, it was diving time. And after a quick Thyla cryopod, I was finally inside.
Oh, this is big. How didn't I know about this? And there's drops in here.
Yep, apparently it isn't even that small of a cave. And after I was in, I went straight to the only place these creatures spawned. And let me tell you, if anyone told me these creatures spawned on Scorched, I just wouldn't believe it. Yeah, I wouldn't. And I would be half right because it actually didn't spawn. I didn't realize at first, but this is a cave. And since I was on single player, and since I've never been here before, things didn't spawn yet. So I had to spend a few minutes just exploring. There could be some drops around, so it wasn't that bad, although I didn't find a single drop aside from the one at the entrance. And eventually, something made me realize that things were starting to spawn.
My FPS really took a... Oh, that's a fish. That means stuff started spawning and I'm hearing something back here. What is it? What is you that's making noise? That's a Dinossauros. Yeah, things are spawning. That's nice. Hi. I probably should have tamed this one instead of the other one, but there's creatures in here now.
Things were definitely spawning around. So I made my way back to the waterhole from before, and lo and behold, there's eels on Scorched. Why? I don't know. Probably because there might be a drop in here or something, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. But since it was just a level 5, I tamed it first try, and I was done with this cave. Well, almost done, because I still had to find my way out of here, which isn't that easy if you haven't been here before. But after finding the exit, I was out of the cave, and it was time to head back to base. And with these new tames in the box, I was only missing 2 creatures. Doesn't seem like much, I know, but let me tell you, these 3 hours I left didn't seem like much, because to tame both of them, all I could do was wait. And even then, I probably didn't have enough time. But since there was nothing else for me to do, I just spent my time collecting some of my creatures to put into the box, keeping watch of any red drops I could get, and crafting and farming resources. And let's be honest, I did not expect for anything to happen this soon. But that's the thing about waiting for things. They'll most likely happen when you're not expecting.
Oh, superheat. Superheat. Oh, let's go.
Although they were against me for the majority of this challenge, the Ark gods decided to give me some help. And with probably the last heat wave of the 24 hours happening, I flew as fast as I could to the Phoenix trap I'd built, hoping that it actually worked. And this is what I found.
Please be stuck. Oh, she's stuck. She is stuck. Yes, my trap worked.
With the Phoenix stuck inside the trap, things were way easier. Still, it took some time though, but after making my wyvern cook that bird non-stop, it was another creature down.
Any moment now. Yes! I tamed the Phoenix! Let's go! Oh, I did it! I really didn't know if I was going to be able to tame one. There it is. The flame bird is tamed. Land. Just land. It doesn't land. Yeah, let's fly a bit. Yes! I have a phoenix! Yes! I thought this was going to be the creature I wasn't going to be able to tame. But still, I did it.
And just like that, I was only missing a single creature, the snail. But I was also back to waiting. There was nothing I could do without sweet vegetable cakes, and if I didn't get them from red drops, all I could do was check the beehives from time to time, waiting for the moment I had enough honey. So basically, I spent the rest of the hour farming resources, crafting cannonballs, going to the desert to farm chitin, and in the meantime getting a bunch of drops all around the map, just so I could destroy the structures I got and get more resources and make more cannonballs. And by the end of it, I did have a nice amount of cannonballs crafted. And when the following hour started, I still didn't have enough honey. So I just did the exact same thing. Farming, crafting, farming some more, crafting some more. Eventually I remembered to finally get my dingo back. The poor guy had been sitting next to my corpse for the last couple of hours. And then I went drop hunting and burning creatures just to pass the time. Yeah, it was a bit boring to be honest. But when I got to base, I realized something. Yes, I still didn't have enough honey, but why don't I start searching for a snail to tame now? And eventually, when I do have enough honey, I would know where the snail I want to tame was. Makes much more sense, really. So I went straight to the Desert Ruins cave, and me and my Thyla started searching for a snail with a much more reasonable level than the ones I seen before. And actually, starting the search now was also a great idea for a different reason. Since I'd never been here, and just like any other cave, there weren't that many creatures inside. So at least they would start spawning now. I made my way through the entire cave, and eventually I found my first snail. I'm almost sure I heard a snail around here somewhere. Yep, there. 235. No, it's not gonna be this one. Then I got the artifact because, well, why not? Started killing all the snails I could see so more could spawn, and while making my way back out, things really did start to spawn. And amidst all the Arthros and Onyx, I found this little guy. Oh, that was a snail. That was a snail. What level are you? Please be 165. Okay. I can't tame this. Not right now, but I'll have enough honey to tame it. Yeah. Just gotta remember where it is, and I'll be back to tame it. Since now I had a target, all I needed was the honey. So, after getting a couple of drops, I made my way back to base, and to my surprise, I finally had enough. Yes! 2! I have enough. Yes! I quickly cooked as many sweet vegetable cakes as I could, and I took off equally as fast straight back to the ruins, only to realize that the snail had despawned. Okay, this is bad. This is bad. The snail, did it move? No, it's straight up despawned. And just like that, I lost my target, and the only thing I could do was to search for a new one. Thankfully, since I'd been inside the cave, it was packed full of creatures, including more snails. And after slowly pushing through the cave and fighting every single creature inside, I ended up finding a new one I could tame. It was a level 150, so I had enough sweet vegetable cake. And after a well-placed shot and grabbing a red cave drop that was nearby, I just stood there, waiting. And snails really do take a long time to eat, but eventually, the last creature I had to tame was mine. So, I left the cave, picked up my trusty Thyla for the last time, and I went back to base, though I wasn't done yet. Yes, I tamed all the creatures I set out to tame, but there was still one thing I also said I would do. There's a reason I made all these cannonballs after all. As I said at the beginning, and rule number 3, I won't be counting the Titanosaur for the challenge. I'll still try and tame it though. Exactly. The Titanosaur does not count for this challenge, but I will still try and tame it. And try it I will. But I also said this. But this creature was made for multiplayer, and taming it alone is borderline impossible. You'll see. And my friends, this is the moment you see. Like, how? Just how? 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 Stop moving. No, stop moving. Stop moving. How? 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 Just how? How? And that's a sandstorm. Thank you, game. Thank you so much. But how do I tame this thing? Yeah, you see what I was saying now, right? Not only did I have to mount my cannon on the back of an Oasisaur, which takes like 5 business days just to turn around, and I really don't think using a Paraceratherium for this would be much better, but also, my target was a Titanosaur's head. And since he never stops moving his neck, most cannonballs just missed. I still got a few shots in though. But that was about it. My cannonballs were depleting super fast and my time was running out. At least you can't say I didn't give it a try. And speaking about time running out, I think it's about time we wrap things up. And with this one, it's 55. So I'm just missing 5 in the box. Okay, time to start collecting stuff. My Duodicarus and my Yankee, my RG, my first flyer, amazing. Yeah, my Wyvern, my beastly Wyvern. This guy, amazing, max level. Yeah, love this guy. And now, I'm just missing 1, I guess. I'm missing 1, right? Yeah, that's 4, so 59. Who am I missing? What creature am I missing? Did I not tame 1 creature? What? I've checked. Oh. Dingo. My boy. My son. Dingo the 4th. My best dingo. The one that survived. Love you, mate. And that's 5. And with that one, it should be 60. Yeah. And that is time. 27 minutes and 41 seconds left. Yes. Less than 24 hours, and I still have that cryopod. The one from the start. Which one is it? I have so many. What? Which one is it? Oh, 29 days. Still hasn't passed 24 hours. And there it is. The cryopod. The box is full with every tameable creature on Scorched. 60 of them, no duplicates. All of them in the box. And I have the cryopod to prove it. 24 hours and I tamed everything.
Let's go.
Super cool, quite close to be honest, 27 minutes, but it was amazing, and it is done. So, the question, can I tame every single creature on Scorched in just 24 hours? Well, I guess I can. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.